All right, welcome everybody to Youngstown Studio. Here with our special guest today from Rebreather. We have Steve and Barley. Welcome, guys.
How you doing? What's going on?
Good. So you guys got a show coming up Saturday at Westside Bowl. You guys are back there with Nub, We the Creature, and Slug. So yeah, man, give us a little bit of kind of a rundown of the show. Kind of preview some of the other bands that are on it.
Well, it's our first show of the year, so that's pretty fun for us. We've been in the studio all winter, off and on, recording an album. So we haven't played out for a while. So we're looking forward to it. Nub is making their second appearance at Westside Bowl. They're a Baltimore noise rock band. Mm-hmm. We, formerly We the Creature, they're locals to Youngstown. I'm sure you've probably caught them before, but I believe it's their first show of the year as well. And Slug, which is Youngstown roots, but they are Cleveland, I believe. And I don't know if they've played Youngstown yet or not, but it should be a pretty fun package, pretty fun night.
So describe for somebody that has not heard Rebreather what the sound's all about, kind of where the influences, some of the influences you guys draw from.
This is always tough.
Definitely heavy.
Yeah, so we started out sort of just trying to make kind of like loud, slow music, and this was like maybe like 20 some years ago, and it's definitely evolved since then. Elements of it's so hard for me to pin down what I mean. We listen to so many different things, but somewhere between like noise rock and like hard rock. I think it's got a little bit of punk in it at points, a little bit of heavy metal at points, but it's sort of it's such a mixture of all kinds of stuff in my head. I mean, I guess someone who listens to it would have to be the person to explain it. I can't really. I mean, it sounds different to me no matter what, since we're playing it.
I got you. Yeah. So the first time I saw Rebreather, this would have been Nyabingi days. So
it was the beginning.
I think we're one of the few. Like I think I was playing in Helvis back then and stuff too. So I mean, but I think not a lot of people are still playing from the night.
No. We're some of the soldiers that are left standing from that era. I mean, we're still out there doing it all the time. Like, which is kind of cool. Like, there's a little collective of us that that we can all. There's kind of a shorthand because we've all been like in this city doing the same sort of thing for quite a few years. Which is pretty cool, pretty fun.
So I know what sort of keeps us going. What keeps you guys going?
Stupidity.
Well, yeah,
this dream that
these things.
No, right, I mean, it's for me. It's I mean, and I don't want to speak for you, but I mean, we even if we weren't in a band, we'd be sitting around noodling around making music up, and so like the meditation of sitting around making music is always going to be there, but we all happen to be on the same page of like, let's try to maybe create some stuff together. And it's nice to be with a group of people that you can write together. Because I mean, I mean, you've been in enough bands that like sometimes it doesn't click. And like we've been fortunate that like whatever group is around us, we've had like different members off and on, but we've all been friends first, and we've all just sort of like fallen into like playing live music together. I mean, it's always sort of been a live thing, even when we've tried to be like, let's just do studio stuff, let's do this and that, but it always like sort of surrenders to being a live ordeal for us. But the drive to do it, I think it's just, we just like to kind of, we get along, we're hanging out anyway, and we all like are like-minded musically.
You guys bring kind of a visual aspect to your show a lot of the time too, with whether it's like you guys have like a projector screen and that
or
sort
lighting or like stuff, yeah.
So yeah, are there like, I guess, how often do you guys kind of change that? What sort of kind of goes into that, and where did that sort of I guess where did that idea come from?
The beginning like visual effect stuff for us happened because my brother was doing a bunch of visual art like way back in the day, and so he started using us as like sort of the foreground so he could get his art displayed basically. And so he would make shorts that he would do cartoon stuff. He would do collages. He would cut all this stuff together. And it was kind of a cool way where he could display art while we were playing. And it sort of added like a cool aesthetic to the live show. We went in and out of doing that off and on. And when Steve joined up, he also did a lot of video stuff, and so it just sort of like was natural for him to start like dealing with that. And I mean, you could kind of explain your process for.
Yeah. Well, I knew that you guys had previously already been doing that, and then kind of around the time that we started doing this, I think your brother was moving.
Yep.
Or had moved.
Yeah, he was in New York.
So that wasn't going to be happening anymore. And I was like, well, I could make stuff and do it. It seems fun, you know? So then I kind of took over doing it, and which is a lot of fun. It's neat to come up with different things and different imagery that people can watch, you know, or that's like another part of the show that's happening. Lately, we've been not using it for a bit.
Yeah, depending on the venue and the time constraints, sometimes it's a little cumbersome to set up and deal with. But we do use like lighting rigs that he's built, so he can like has a foot pedal. So in certain spots, we can change the dynamic by changing like adding strobes or adding different things like that. And so that's kind of been like a nice. It just adds a little bit of oomph to when you're kicking into this part or coming out of that part, and you can.
You know, sometimes you go, some venues just have a lot of great stuff happening, and they have somebody there operating it, and they make you look really good with all the lights and stuff. And then sometimes you go and you're playing in the corner of this place that doesn't have a lot, you know. So we bring some stuff along with us that I can control. And I just think, you know, sometimes in a place like that where there's not a lot lighting going on, you know, you can kind of make something neat happen with a very minimal amount of stuff. Just if you place it right and turn it on at the right time, you can make things look a lot cooler.
Taking over all the senses. Yeah, we're all already punishingly loud. We want to do visuals so that you get captivated by that, and then add some incense or whatever to the air. Just like anything that we can do sensory wise is, I think, makes for a better show.
So, give me the origins of the band. Kind of take me back to the beginning. Did you guys start like late '90s, or was it early 2000s?
It was late '90s. I had opened a skate shop on Mahoning Avenue. And one day, Chad and Jeremy came in the studio or in the shop, and we had built a little practice space in the back because Lewis. Do you remember Lewis from Kind Sound?
I probably
he had
would
a record shop on one side, I had a skate shop on the other. We built a little studio in the back just in case we wanted to play music, mess around, like nothing. It was not going to be anything serious. Jeremy and Chad happened to pop in, and they were a drummer and a bass player. And so we got to talking, and we're like, hey, sometime you guys should bring your stuff down here and we'll all jam. My buddy Jake, who grew up in this area, but he was going to school in Kent, he also played guitar, and he decided to drive up. He actually named the band Rebreather, but we all started just kind of jamming in that room, and that was how it all began. And so from there, it just sort of steamrolled into whatever it is.
Who were you guys' gateways into music? Like, what were the bands that like you heard, whether as a kid or even as a teen, that was like, all right, I have to do this. You know what I mean? Or that maybe would inspired you to pick up a guitar.
Guitar wise, I think honestly it was like Led Zeppelin, like really blew me away as like a little kid, and it made me want to pick up a guitar. I have no idea how to play guitar like that, but that was something that really like kind of like blew my mind as a kid. But like wanting to be in a band was like listening to like Suicidal Tendencies, Circle Jerks, all that like kind of like late 80s, early 90s kind of like punk like stuff like really got me stoked to want to like, I was like, this would be kind of fun to be able to create this kind of stuff live. And I already had the guitar from Led Zeppelin, so I had to like, all I could play were punk rock riffs. I couldn't play the Led Zeppelin riffs, so
I still can't play that either. Like it's A chords, open AC/DC chords is what I can play. You know what I mean? But yeah, Steve, how about you?
That rocks, man.
Yeah.
What got me really into it? Well, ever since I was very small, both of my parents exposed me to a lot of music. So I still have a lot of my vinyl collection from the 80s that I bought when it was new. Like I started collecting records when I was young. I listened to all different kind of music, different music from my mom and from my dad. So I got exposed to a lot of different things. And I just started collecting records. Like I have every Hall & Oates record, original pressings. They're still in my house right now. Don't tell anybody where I live. All that stuff, Michael Jackson stuff, the popular stuff that was really good. But then also, I have siblings that are like 4 years older than me, 4 or 5 years older. Which is like they got to be like becoming into like teenagers and discovering new interesting music at a time that I wasn't quite there yet. But from them, I started getting that stuff. So I was listening to things way sooner than I probably should have, or that you normally would have. Not that I shouldn't have. And then, we were little skateboarder kids. So there's all this like punk rock stuff started coming in, and then I was getting all this alternative stuff, I guess you would call it that at that time, in the like late 80s into the early 90s, stuff, from my siblings who were a little bit older than me, and all their friends were always around. So I was always just getting all this music around, and I was like, I've always been into it. I've always been surrounded by it. I've always been a lover of music. And I just knew, I was like, one day I'm going to do something, but I don't know what. In high school, I played the drums like with the band, but not like I couldn't play a drum kit, and then as I think happens to everybody, you get to a certain age where everybody starts buying instruments, and then it's like everybody in town had a guitar. And I was like, we can't just have 12 guitar players. This isn't a band, so it's like, I guess the bass is going to have to be on me, and so I wanted to do that real bad. And then my dad ended up buying me my first bass when I was like 15, I think. It was about 15. And then, I still play guitar and piano and other things, but I've just stuck with bass a lot. Sometimes out of necessity, even just because, again, there's a million guitar players, so there's always guitar players that are looking for a bass player. So it's a good card to have around, I guess.
Yeah, I switched to guitar. I was bass all at first, whatever. And I actually started that at the same time. I was like 14. I think I got my first bass, and it was I did it because I was like, oh, this will be easier to play than the guitar because there's less strings. Literally, that was my thought process in it. You know what I mean? Back then.
Did you bass in Elvis?
Yeah,
that's what I thought I was gonna.
Yeah, and then I switched to guitar for Turbo Lovers because it was just out of necessity. Like the way early on lineups switched and changed, and it was like, all right, we have extra bass players, whatever. So it was like, all right, let me switch to that. I'm still not totally comfortable playing guitar, even all these years later. But yeah, same.
It's a thing. And not that I'm trying to get away from it, but like I try to do other, I try to get other people involved in some things where I'm like, I just want to play guitar. I want to do a different kind of music where I play guitar, and then I talk to other people that like, I'll talk to somebody who plays the drums, and they're like, yeah, that's great. I don't want to play drums in another band. I want to play bass. And I'm like, okay, well then that's perfect. So I actually end up just finding other people that don't want to do the thing that they're kind of known for doing right now, or the main thing that they do. So you kind of have to put people together backwards that way. If you're looking for a drummer, don't look for a drummer. You need to look for a bass player that doesn't want to play bass anymore.
Yeah, right. So tell me about some of the more memorable gigs that you guys have kind of had over the years. Are there any that really stand out, whether for good or bad reasons? There's always some hell gigs, and then there's ones that are obviously really good too. But yeah, just any kind of memorable gigs over the years that really stand out to you guys.
Well, we got offered. Was this year or last year when we opened for If These Trees Could Talk? Did a reunion tour, and we got to open for them in Musica in Akron. It was a sold out show, and it was a lot of fun. And we hadn't played with those guys in maybe 15 years or something goofy, maybe 10 years, but it had been a while. So it was a cool like reunion, and it was very fun and flattering to get an offer to play with a band of that caliber, like for a reunion like opening show. 2 years ago, last summer we did not tour. The summer before we toured with Weed Eater, and that was a blast to get to go around all kinds of clubs that we have hit off and on, but like a bunch of new clubs that we hadn't been to. So it's always fun to like visit new cities and have new like experiences in different clubs. But one that stands out is the Cobra Lounge show.
I knew that's where this is going. Yeah, of course.
In Tolano, Illinois,
something like that. Yeah, Tolano.
Matt Talbot from Hum owns it or runs it. It's a little city, very Twin Peaks, David Lynch-ish city that you drive into.
Their total population is like 4,000 or 5,000 for the whole
tiny
city.
tiny little city. Rundown. Everything that you look at is rundown. It's a venue that often the shows are in the parking lot. There are shopping carts full of lumber or full of logs that they light on fire at some point so that it's lit everywhere. They serve parking lot margaritas the entire time. But if you were playing indoors, you were playing in the living room of a double wide trailer.
Isn't it two double wide trailers put together? The whole thing?
A quad trailer. Yeah. But it's wild.
Yeah,
you walk in and you're walking into like
Maybe
a different
there's just one
era.
double
Like it
wide.
was just like stinky pea carpet. There's like weird like casino games. There's like you're in
There's
a crazy trailer and you're just playing a rock show that is packed full of people. And it was such a blast. They were such
they are
amazing,
right here.
amazing hosts. We were having people. We were playing in front of a dartboard. We were having people throw darts as we were playing, like through us. Like, but he got injured at the show because
that's
it
another
was
reason
packed,
why that show
packed
is
so tight that he turned around and just tripped over the monitor, landed on his back, and blew his tailbone like to smithereens. But it was a
not
wild show, but it was very fun, and it was such a cool like venue though. A very unique venue. I'd love to go back there someday.
Nice. I remember almost crippling myself at, I think it was Bernie's in Columbus back in Helvis, and the ceiling was so low on the stage, and it was like I went to like jump, and I was like, oh god, like I think I just paralyzed myself because I just
At least
jacked my head.
I'm shorter than I used to be at the least.
Right. Yeah.
Jeez, oh man.
Were there any gigs like, so we get this every once in a while, less now obviously than earlier on, but were there any like bills that you guys were on that where it was just like an obvious sort of mismatch, or like for whatever reason, like sometimes we could be on bills where it's way too heavy for us, and there's other times where it's like it goes the other way, or it's or we play with cover bands or something like that, and it's just weird. But
like I could see the cover band thing. Like if you didn't know that that's what you were getting into when you got into it, being awkward. I don't want to speak like for everybody and say that there hasn't been times where a matchup was weird, but like I like a mixed up lineup myself. I like things that don't go together. I get why things do go together, but also especially like locally or regionally. If I'm going to see one of my friends' bands play, I don't want to see 4 bands that all sound the same. You know what I mean? Because after that first one, you're like, well, I already know how the rest of the night's going to be. I like when it's mixed up. It so far, as long as I've been in the band, it hasn't been mixed up enough for it to train wreck.
We before you were in the band, we played in St. Louis, Missouri, and we got. I don't understand how the bill worked, but the band that played before us was a Queensryche cover band, and which is whatever. But
I hate Queensryche, by the way. I'm an 80s cheesehead and a metal guy. Like that band, every time I hear that band, I'm like, whoever got laid to Queensryche
It's
ever?
garbage,
Like
dude. It is garbage.
Somebody out there,
like, it's the worst.
Joe
like,
Dirt. I think
Queensryche.
Joe Dirt.
Yeah,
might
but
have-
they were really bummed that we played. Like the crowd was there for them, and they were like angry. And I've seen people like not like love like what we're doing, but like they were like visibly and verbally angry. And as soon as we were done, the sound guy came up and he's like, "Hey, I think that it would be best if you guys got your gear off the stage and left." And we were like, okay, I think that's what we're gonna do.
Yep.
It seemed like it could have been very violent for no reason. Like it was a weird experience. I've never had anything like that happen.
Well, they're all Queensrÿche fans, so they don't count. I'm disavowing their opinions right now.
Oh yeah.
Queensrÿche.
It was wild though. It was a weird experience, but that was the only time I ever actually kind of felt unsafe. I mean, we played some crazy shows, but there's a lot of love in the area.
Mhm.
Like, you know, it was there was a bunch of angry meth heads at that show. It was bizarre. It was a weird deal.
So, Steve, how did you come to? Because you're still a new guy, right? Quote unquote. You've been in the band for a number of years here.
8 years,
yeah,
and I'm the new guy still. Yeah, I will be until I'm not, I guess.
So, how did you end up joining the band?
Well, we
sort of started a new band.
Yeah,
and then it got called
like we were already
Rebreather
friends
again.
and hanging out all the time. And one night we were in Pittsburgh. I forget why, but we were hanging out with Steve. Our drummer Steve lives in Pittsburgh, by the way, if you didn't know that out there. So we happened to be in Pittsburgh, and him and his wife came and hung out with us and all of our other friends that met up there. It was somebody's birthday, I think. Anyway, we we were sitting on this patio having drinks and talking, and it's like, would you want to like get together and maybe start jamming around and playing some music and just see what happens? And I was like, yeah, it's been a minute. I wasn't currently doing anything. So it seemed like it would be interesting and fun to play with some people I was friends with, but that I had never played, as long as we were friends, we never sat down and played guitar together. So it was like, yeah, I'd be interested in checking it out. And so the three of us actually were starting not Rebreather. We were just starting a new band.
Yeah,
and then I'll let you tell.
Yeah, we practiced once, and we're just like kind of feeling each other out, seeing how this is going to be. And we get a phone call from our friend Ron, who owned the Cara Bar in Columbus. I don't know if you ever got to play the Cara Bar.
No, but I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
But so he said, hey, we are closing in 2 weeks. It's going to be our last day. Do you think Rebreather can come play our final night?
Mm-hmm.
We're like, well, coincidentally, we just sort of started playing in a band. We'll try. And so we practiced one more time and had him learn 7 Rebreather songs.
Mm-hmm.
And
But to be fair, you did ask Chad if he wanted to get back together with you guys to do that show, and he wasn't interested.
Yeah, it was too tight, too much,
Too close.
Yeah, too close, and so he blasted through 7 songs in one practice. We went down there and played our first show together, and then we just decided we were going to do it as a one-off, and then we're just like, you know what, that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
We've already learned 7 songs
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
So
and
let's
the new
just,
thing that we
let's
were
just have it
doing
be
is
this.
kind of
And-
going in that same direction too. So
Yeah,
it was like,
so-
well, why not use the name that has this history attached to it? And
yeah.
fan
Why
base?
change names?
Yeah.
It
You know.
seemed silly after that.
Because at that point, you're going to move forward with a new name and be like, and then formerly, like,
Yeah,
or whatever
right.
you're going to do there. So it's like you might as well just use that name, because then you're immediately catching the ear of people that know that name.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's how
yeah,
that.
yeah. So that's how all that like began.
Mhm.
So
Nice.
So,
So,
thanks to the Cara Bar closing,
Yeah.
I guess. That's otherwise we'd be called
RIP
something
Cara
else
Bar.
right now.
Yeah, exactly.
new material. You guys are working on. You guys are putting out a new album later this year. Is that right?
Yeah, so we went and to Mind Rocket. Have you recorded? With
Yeah,
Josh
it's been a while, but yeah, we Turbo Lovers did 2 or 3 records there, and then I've done other bands and stuff. I've been but then I've been on other people's projects there. So yeah, I've recorded there a lot though.
Yeah, so he's we've used him every time. We've always recorded with Josh, whether we're putting stuff out or just doing it for something to have on our own. But regardless, we over the winter we had like 7 songs that we wanted to record. We went and blasted through 7, right?
Yeah, we did the 7 that
But we
were
had-
complete.
2 that we were kind of working on, so we decided to maybe do it in 2 parts. But since then, we've written or half written a couple more. So I don't know if we're gonna do 2 albums, one long album, but like we're not quite done. But we have 7 completed songs, and then we're probably gonna do 3 or 4 more probably, and then decide what we're gonna do with it.
See how many
2
fit on the
2 EPs or
record.
1 longer album. But,
or it might even end up where like all the songs but 2 fit
10
on an
singles.
album.
We're gonna put out 10
You
singles.
know, so then like the other 2 might end up being some special thing that we do. Maybe if we have 2 songs left over or something and they're good enough, you know, and it should
They'll be in the next X-Men movie, whatever.
Yeah.
It is, for sure.
maybe they'll end up being like a 2-sided 7-inch or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Something cool that we can
Yeah,
do,
so
but-
we're stockpiling a bunch of stuff, and we definitely have some plans. Nothing's all the way worked out, but excited. It's so fun to record. I mean, other than hearing the same song 400 times.
I know,
already.
right?
But it's nice to finally like get it down and be like, okay, this is what it is. But yeah, so it's been a blast. But that's again why we haven't been playing out. And so I've been itching to play out. So we're pretty excited for this weekend. So it should be a pretty fun show.
Nice. So song wise, how does sort of the material kind of stack up to some of your older stuff? Is there any surprises on there, or kind of sonically, what's it all about?
We're doing a little bit more of a raw approach, I believe. We in the past we will go to put like 100 guitar tracks down, a bunch of bass tracks, a ton of feedback tracks, beef everything up. But we're going to try to do a more stripped down version, because I think that these songs can like hold their own. I mean, they're going to sound huge no matter what, but there's a ton of energy in these songs, and I don't want to mud them up with a bunch of layers. There's going to be enough layers. And anyone who is a fan of what we've done is going to be pretty stoked on it. But I think the material is it's catchy, it's heavy, it's real noisy, and I think it's gonna be a slightly different album for us, but it's gonna be Rebreather for Rebreather fans. But I think we're gonna gain. I think that it's going to open us up to other people being like, oh yeah, this is kind of interesting. But again, it is going to sound like Rebreather, but it's got a different kind of energy to it.
Nice. So going back, best memories from Nyabingi. Any sort of standout stories or standout moments?
Just about the place or about
shows, about anything. It could be,
okay.
whether you play it, whether it was a show or whether it was just hanging there or whatever. That was sort of the.
I didn't play with you guys there, although I was in bands that played there at that time. But I have witnessed a lot of things there, as I'm sure everybody has at one point or another.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff. I guess as a whole, my favorite part is everyone I met that I'm still friends with. You know, between music and skateboarding, like that's everyone that I know in my life. And so like Nyabingi was a huge it was honestly it was the first local rock club that I really felt at home in. And so that was kind of nice. Like, I don't know if it was like my age or what, but like when I would go down there, like I felt like I was part of that bar. Like I didn't feel like an outsider. And it's very easy to walk into like a rock club and feel like you don't like belong because of just not being like a local dude or whatever. But like that place really made me feel at home. And Greg did a ton to boost like local bands. Like he really helped out. He got local bands in front of a lot of touring bands, and that was really like such a cool thing to do to the scene. You know, like he really like he really helped out a lot of people. Like he gave them a stage, literally, you know, and so it was a very helpful place. It was a cool incubator for like that kind of music.
Not to mention, like, even just the other people that worked there, you know, like the bartenders and stuff like that. Like, some of those people I still hang out with to this day.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that place built a lot of long-term friendships. You know, I met people there that I wouldn't have met otherwise, probably. And we're still hanging out now. So
what are your thoughts kind of on the Youngstown music scene sort of these days? Obviously, West Side Bowl is sort of the go-to place. You know, there's still some other. You still have Cedars. There's every once in a while we'll throw a show at the Royal Oaks and stuff, as well as that too. But yeah, kind of what are your sort of overall sort of impressions? I think you guys are kind of like us in that you guys kind of do your own thing. You know what I mean? Like you're very much your own kind of thing band. You know what I mean? Like you have sort of, and we're the same way. You know, just sort of rock bands are just kind of off in. You know, where it's not necessarily totally incorporated with the rest of the scene, whatever. But there's a little bit more of that though with West Side Bowl. There's a lot. It seems to be a lot more like sort of the benefit shows and that sort of thing, where they're incorporating a lot of different bands, like you guys had mentioned. But yeah, just kind of what are your overall thoughts on the scene as it is today?
Well, I think for us in particular, what we've recognized over the years is that you can burn yourself out to the crowds by playing too often. So it's better to play a couple times a year instead of once a month or anything like that. It's better to be on the road and travel. But I mean, all of our best friends are here. So like if we're playing in our hometown, then that's always fun. You know, it's always entertaining. You're always going to see people, you know, and it's a good way to catch up with people. But I think that we like to limit the amount of shows we do. But that being said, we are doing a mini accidental brewery tour. We're playing all the breweries in this area over the summer. So we're gonna hit Noble Creature, we're gonna hit Modern Methods, and we're gonna hit Birdfish. So that'll all be kind of fun because they're not traditional venues for that kind of music. But it is kind of fun to play in places that you don't necessarily belong. I mean, all those people are going to be accommodating, and it's going to be great. But it's going to be fun to be in that situation.
Those people, they're all friends of ours, you know, and they've all been asking over the course of time, you know, you should come and play here, come and play here, come and play there. And it just turned out that we got offers all within like a month and a half, 2 months for all three of those spots. And I was like, I think we should just do all of them for the first time, like pretty close together and just make that a whole thing and go, okay, we finally got to play all those plaoses and we did it.
It'll be pretty fun.
It'll be fun. And
new crowds, new faces.
New faces. And it's giving, you know, those people that aren't, the people that are attending, might not be expecting the thing that we do.
Yeah, it'll be a surprise. You know, like, what is this loud stuff happening?
Yeah, right.
So I think that's interesting too. Sometimes even in your own, like I would still consider all that like the Youngstown area or that scene. You know, you can still end up in front of people that you've never played in front of before. You know, or that have no idea that you're even doing that. And sometimes you have to go to different places to make that happen. You know, but it all ties together. Also, and we started talking about that, and I forget the actual question that you're asking. I think it was just about the Youngstown music scene.
Yeah.
If I have anything to say about that, I would say there is so much and a huge eclectic mix of things happening. You know, just in our area here. You have it all, you know, singer-songwriter stuff, Americana stuff, heavy rock. You have hip-hop artists. You have country artists. You have
hardcore bands.
You have the hardcore bands, the metal stuff. I mean, I'm leaving things out, you know, but there are people that are doing that, all of the things right here in Youngstown. And there are several places that allow that to happen, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
A place like West Side being a little more capacity with the big stage that they have upstairs. I think it's neat that gets them involved in a lot more of the national touring stuff. You know, it might be too small to go to Covelli, but it's bigger than most of the other like 200 capacity venues or something. So they kind of have a good thing there that's getting a lot of things coming through. And that again, it's like what you were saying with Greg and the Nyabingi and putting bands in front.
It's a good incubator. It's a good way to cultivate all this a scene.
Local bands get to play with these national bands, and then these national bands are finding out about great local Youngstown bands, you know, and then that sometimes, you know, even for us, that can turn into, you know, we'll get a call 6 months from now and they're like, do you want to go on tour with those guys that you played with before? And we're like, yeah, we absolutely. So it's a cool thing.
Yeah, it's nice to see. Because there have been periods where there's been like no local bands, or there's been like so few, where it's just been, and I think part of that has to do with the fact that sometimes there have been periods where there was no venue and IBE closed, where there's been like big gaps and whatever, so you don't. There's it's nice to see, like you said, it's nice to see more people playing music and it just being, it's all over the map, like you said. There's plenty of stuff.
There's everything.
But so sorry, you guys got the show Saturday at Westside Bowl. Once again, that's Nub, Rebreather, We the Creature, and Slug. You mentioned the brewery tour. You guys have a new album coming out at some point this year. Any other kind of plans or any other things in the works for the rest of this year?
The weekend after, next weekend, Athens at the Union. I don't know if you've been down there. Very cool rock club where support for Weed Eater is coming through town.
Oh, nice.
So that should be a pretty big show. It should be a lot of fun. But anything else this month?
Yeah, that's it for this month because we're kind of at the end of the month. Next month we're doing Lex Fest in Kentucky also.
Yeah, heading down for a festival. Legalized Lex.
That's it.
Yep.
I said Lex Fest.
Yeah,
That's
Lexington.
probably not
Al's
correct.
Bar in Lexington. So that should be a lot of fun. A lot of good bands. Lopan, Horse Burner, Crop, Radian from Akron, Friendship Commanders. They come through town every once in a while. They're Nashville. They're going to be there. But a bunch of good bands. It could be a good festival. It's an up and coming festival. It's their second year, but they're already getting a lot of good bands and a lot of good press. So it should be one of those festivals that grows and grows and grows. So we're looking forward to getting down there.
Nice, awesome. Well, thank you guys for stopping by. Like I said, everybody. Like I said, once again, Saturday, Westside Bowl, Nub, Rebreather, We the Creature, and Slug. But yeah, thank you guys so much again for coming down.
Dude, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
It's good to catch up.
You got it.